Suffering Podcast.
You're walking down the road thinking you're doing everything right, while the path appears very clear. You've done everything you know how to do, and your career is on autopilot. Your mission is clear, and your future is looking very bright. And all at once, chaos ensues, and you're in for a fight that you didn't know you signed up for. Danger is flying from all directions, leaving it impossible to dodge every bullet coming your way. You're trapped, and your opponent is able to yell, "Checkmate." But you have some fight left in you, and you refuse to go gentle into that good night. So you pick yourself up and dust off your battle-ridden body. While others think they've won, you are preparing to begin the fight all over. I'm Kevin Donaldson, always here with Mike Felice, and welcome to the Suffering Podcast. If you're a fan of overcoming adversity and overcoming suffering, then we're for you, because that's what we do here, and that's the stories that we highlight. So do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, please comment, ring the bell so you can get notified of all of our new content, and now you can join. And of course, follow us on all social media so you can find out what we're up to when we're up to it. Tonight, just another one that short little Lebanese guy brings me. Tonight we welcome Heidi Marshall to discuss the suffering of the road back. The one thing after hearing your story that I learned the most is you're only ever truly defeated is when you quit and give up and don't keep trying. Thank you so much for coming up here and sitting with us.
No, absolutely. And I'm sorry, Kevin, I got to correct you right off the bat. It is now Heidi Ramsey.
Heidi Ramsey?
Yeah. I mean,
I
got married late in life.
Why?
So
what is it? What was?
That's part of the story, Kevin. You gotta wait until the end. That's part of the comeback.
Oh, okay. That's okay.
So there you go. I mean, that just sets you up. Now you got to listen to the
now
whole
you got to
thing
listen
to find out.
That's a great grab. So make sure you're listening. Before we get into anything, so a big shout out to our marquee sponsor. That's Toyota of Hackensack. We don't trust anybody as police. We certainly don't trust anybody as podcasters, but we do trust the guys over at Toyota Hackensack. So if you're looking for a car, go to toyotahackensack.com and let them find you a car. Also, tell them the Suffering Podcast sent you. So Heidi Ramsey, see?
There you go. You're a quick learner.
Each week we take a question from our audience. This one comes from Manta-Ray. What is your mantra to help you keep on track? I think a lot of times we get sidetracked. We get led astray a little bit, and that's mostly inside our own minds. And inevitably, there's got to be something in you to sort of realign yourself and get back on your mission. Do you have a certain mantra that you talk about?
So early on, it was, don't let the bastards get you down.
I like that.
Right? And you can't soar like an eagle if you're down on the ground with all the turkey. So, just try to realize there's always going to be somebody out there who is trying to keep you down at any given point in time, regardless of what it is, whether it's at work, whether it's home, whether it's personal, whether it's professional, whatever. So I just try not to let those things get me down and focus on what's most important, and that's my family, my friends, and the people closest to me, and my own health, so that I can be there for those people at the end.
The people who lift you up, make you feel good about yourself, who cheer you on even though they don't want anything from you. You know, the problem is a lot of times when you elevate to a certain level, there's a certain group of people out there that will only let you get so high, and then they'll start poking holes in your boat because they want you to sink down, right? They're like crabs in a barrel.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, and
we'll talk about that too.
You know, in my police career, I dealt with some detrimental personalities to mine. And I would go into work sick as a dog. Like, I would throw up before I went out on the street because I was so overwhelmed with stress by what they were doing to me. Once I got on the road, I was fine, you know, and that was my calming thing. But inside police headquarters, it was really, really bad. And I wish I would have known this as a newer officer, or especially when these things were going on in my life. I wish I had that one person to lean on. So my mantra now is I can't do this alone. You know, especially with men, and I can't speak for women. I'd have to ask Tom for that to see how he figures that out. No, I'm only kidding you, Tom. I love you, you know. But I can't speak for women, but with men, we try to do it all ourselves. We try to take on all the burden ourselves. We cannot get out of our own way, even though we don't know what to do. I've learned later in life, at 51 years old, I finally think I understand that we just can't do this life on our own. I'm not saying let all your stuff out to everybody, but you should have a group of close confidants that are really going to tell you the truth, that don't want anything from you, that are just going to say, hey, you're doing it wrong here, switch gears. And I think if I had that, and I had a couple people around who tried to do that, the problem is my ears weren't open. My ears are a little bit more open now. So when I'm having a day and I might need to lean on somebody who's a little stronger at that point than I am, because inevitably it's going to come around where I'm stronger and they need me. So my mantra today is I can't do it alone. I can't do it alone. And if I realize that, I'll be able to give up that illusion of control and get things done much quicker.
And have a little bit of vulnerability, because you never know who you're going to inspire just by being a little bit vulnerable yourself. And shoot, if Kevin got through that, maybe I can get through that too.
It's a story of my post-police career. You know, once I dropped that ego, because that's what it is. It's with cops in general. It's ego. It's like nobody can ever, don't let them ever see you sweat. Remember that old commercial? Well, no, let them see you sweat, because that's what's going to connect you to people. My pastor always says this one thing is you know, cops are very guilty of this. You'll sit around a bar with a cop and they'll start talking about jobs. I did this job. I arrested 5 people all at once. And then you'll come in and you'll say, well, I arrested 6 people. And next thing you know, it's a big one-upsmanship. And nobody's really listening. Nobody really cares. They're waiting for their turn to talk. So he always says you impress people with your success, but you connect to them through your vulnerabilities, such as, okay, I made X amount of arrests in my career and I got so many drugs off the street and I was in all these police chases. However, did I ever tell you I had a gun in my mouth? And all of a sudden, when you say something like that, people sort of go, huh. You know, and that's how you connect to people. You don't connect to people with your success. It just doesn't work.
And then you also figure out that they might have just been there too.
Correct.
And that's the key.
And now all of a sudden you have some sort of bond.
Right.
And then you get a little closer to people. So Manta Ray, thank you so much for sending that question in. Keep sending in your questions and we will try to get them on the air. So Heidi Ramsey. And sometimes I just step on my own tongue every once in a while. We were introduced to our mutual friend, Keith Shibley, and Keith's been a good friend of the show. We sort of bounce ideas off each other or when we're having a tough day. I enjoy the relationship I have with him, and I met him through chance. He found our show and he reached out to me, but when I talk to him, he's one of those guys where he saw my vulnerabilities, just like we were talking about. And through our vulnerabilities, he had his own. Next thing you know, we're friends. I have him up here. We become closer friends. And we've traveled together, and we've had some fun together. And, you know, I'm internally grateful. But when somebody like Keith says, hey, you wanna listen to this woman, Heidi, my ears perk up, and that's the truth. So he speaks very highly of you. I know he'll never tell you to your face, but he speaks very, very highly of you.
Well, that's just because I'm taller than him, so he has to speak highly. That's the only way I can hear him.
When my son was 4 years old, I think he was taller than Keith.
I know. Absolutely.
Yeah. He's very jealous of height. He is. He's very envious of height.
Yeah.
But Heidi, why don't you give our audience a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, how you grew up. Let's start there.
So, and I appreciate you, Kevin, having me up here because, I mean, we've talked a few times, right? So you're just basing it off of what Keith told you. And, you know, to be quite honest with you, I've had Keith teach in my class and share his story and his experience and his vulnerabilities, which goes a long way with police executives, which we'll get to. But he hadn't really heard my story until we happened to teach together a few months ago. So
it's exactly how he put it too. He goes, I'm teaching with this woman and she's doing great. And all of a sudden I hear her story and I'm like, damn.
Because I don't share. I mean, I share it the first day or, you know, the first week of my classes, but it took me a long time to even be able to share it. So Can I ask you something before you go forward? Absolutely.
And we'll get into this a little down the road. When you first shared your story, what did it do for your psyche? I'm sure there was a lot of trepidation when you went into telling it. You're like, I don't know how this is going to be received. That might see myself as a little weak. I want to know how it felt when you finally got that off your chest. So
I slept like a baby that night, but it took me 8.5 years before I shared it. Now, there's kind of a dual sharing, if you will, because I shared it first at the National Academy. I went through the National Academy as a student. Best 10, 11 weeks of my career, I was able to focus on myself and being physically fit and mentally fit and, you know, putting things in perspective and realizing that I was giving 150% to a job that if I get hit by a bus tomorrow,
yeah, you're done.
I mean, there's people bucking for my position at my funeral, right? So that was the first place I told it. It took me an hour. I cried the whole time. Swore that I was never going to tell that story when I got back home, but then kind of things organically happened, and I told it in front of a group of 300 troopers doing a trauma-informed policing class for our in-service in 2017. So at that point, I was like, well, I can't share it with the first class and not share it with everybody else. So then that 2017 was when I really started sharing that more and opening up and having, showing that vulnerability to my peers, supervisors, peers, subordinates. Because by this time, I was a staff lieutenant in the Highway Patrol, the Ohio State Highway Patrol. You have to say it like that. It's almost copyrighted.
That's a Pandora's box. When you do that and you let that stuff out, you try to close it just like I did the same thing. You try to close it and you say, all right, we're going to put that to bed. I told it. It never needs to see the light of day. The problem is it just keeps popping out.
Right.
So when you try to push that jack in the box back, it just doesn't fit anymore.
And you're thinking, what? Oh, crap. Not only do I have to tell this story 14 more times because that's how many more classes we have, but what are people thinking? Here I am standing up as a command, person, and I just admitted that, I was contemplating suicide. And as a result of something that happened because of work. And how, what are they thinking? But what I was amazed was the number of people who were surprised that I was at that point. Because we're all good at flipping a switch. Hey, Kevin, how you doing? Please say fine, please say fine, please say fine. So I don't have to listen to the 15 minutes of bullshit of whatever you got going on.
Anything beyond fine, good, or okay, when you're in that spot, you're like, you're just being rude now.
Right, exactly. Like, I just want you to say fine, right? Or, as opposed to, maybe I should be the one who's listening to your 15 minutes of bullshit, right? So they were surprised that I was in that spot. But more importantly, what I found out was how many people admitted, they came forward and said they understood because they had been there too, right? That to me told me that we have a problem, not only within my organization, but systemically across law enforcement, across the board. Now, this was 2017.
It gives you the opportunity to lead from the front.
Right.
Okay, I'm a big Jocko Willink guy. Extreme Ownership's one of my favorite books. And he always talks about leading from the front. And that's exactly what you did. I was just in Clay County, Missouri. Will Aiken does the same thing. He leads from the front. He admits his vulnerabilities. And where the old guard would never let that stuff out because they would think you're going to look at them as weak. But what it actually does is it endears people to you. It actually shows, okay, I can follow this person because they understand where I was, and now I have some sort of bond to them. It actually makes you such a better leader. Are you ready to enhance your skills and provide the best care to those who need it the most? I'm Kevin Donaldson.
I'm Sherry Alsop. Our trauma-informed training is here to help, and we've been traveling across the country delivering this essential need to departments and organizations of every size, shape, and makeup.
We come to you with on-site training so you don't have to worry about travel or scheduling conflicts.
This isn't just a class, it's an interactive experience. You'll learn directly from subject matter experts who teach from a victim's point of view, putting you in the shoes of those who have experienced trauma.
This approach allows you to understand trauma on a deeper level and to better serve the individuals you work with.
We'll guide you through new interview techniques that prioritize a victim-centered approach, ensuring safety and empathy in every conversation.
And for those of you in law enforcement or other fields, our training includes post-credits, giving you the extra added value and recognition for your commitment to professional growth.
We offer references upon request to show just how effective our training can be.
Don't miss the opportunity to improve your understanding of trauma and make a real difference in the lives of those you serve. Get in touch with us today by going to sherryalsop.com and let us bring trauma-informed training to your organization.
Together, we can make a lasting impact.
Which I realized, but let's get to that point. So I did 23 years with the Highway Patrol in Ohio. I had zero intention of becoming a trooper as I was growing up. My dad was a trooper. Very proud of my dad for his service. He did 31 years with the Highway Patrol. He retired as the colonel of the Highway Patrol. So
top of the top.
He was the boss, right?
Wait. Did you get hired while he was the colonel?
He was a lieutenant colonel
Ooh.
when I got hired. Okay. Now hold on.
That's not good optics.
Well, right. So I didn't want to be a trooper because I didn't want to be treated differently because of my dad, either better or worse. Okay. So I went to college on a full basketball scholarship, ended up playing softball as well, Division I athlete. My major, my undergraduate degree was in religious studies. So
we have a lot in common.
Right? So my intention was to graduate from college and go to Lutheran seminary for 4 years. I was going to be a Lutheran minister.
I was raised Lutheran, I swear to God.
Preach. Amen, right? Mm-hmm. Towards the end of my college, I mean, all I was doing was practice, travel, play games, go to class, study. I mean, the whole 4 years I was there. So towards the end of college, I was burnout. The last thing I wanted to do was go to 4 more years of college. So that's when I put in my application for the patrol. I did not tell my dad that I put in my application. How long do you think it took him to find out that I put in my application?
Probably about 2 minutes.
2 minutes, right? We have a little saying, I don't know if this is common around here, but tell a phone, tell a friend, tell a trooper.
In another different way.
Right?
Yeah.
And stuff gets across the state, whether true or not, in a heartbeat. So he found out pretty quickly. So I go start the academy in May of 1995, graduate in November of 95. I was third in my academy class, so I pretty much got to pick where I wanted to go. And I go out and I start working the road, just like every one of us did. Right? Trying to figure out how to drive fast, cut the median, run the radar, the lights, the sirens, the radio, and not hurt myself, my FTO, or anybody else out on the road. Then I decide I need to start putting myself in a position to be ready to get promoted. Right? I'm thinking upward mobility. I mean, my goal, my ultimate goal is I want to follow my dad's footsteps. I want to be the colonel of the Highway Patrol.
What'd your dad say when he found out you applied?
Oh, he was happy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he was fine if I would have gone to seminary.
Well, there's two ways that can go, because I've seen legacies come in there, and it's either they're ultra happy that you're following in their footsteps, or they're like, dude, you have no idea what you're getting into. Stuff, that type of atmosphere.
No, he was good. He was fine with it. Yeah. I mean, he was happy. He was proud. I mean, it was good.
Now, did you get the things in the background saying, "Oh, your dad's a colonel"? Geez, I wonder how you got hired.
How many times do you think I heard the phrase "colonel's daughter"?
Probably quite a bit.
Everything was, "Oh, you're the colonel's daughter." Even after he retired, it was, "Oh, you're the colonel's daughter." So, so he retired in 2000. So I knew until April 19th of 2001, which was when he had to retire, I had the ability to get myself into a position to be eligible to get promoted. I was not going to get promoted while he was still on, because that's a nepotism issue. So I know this, no big deal. So I'm working midnight shift. I decide I'm going to go back to school, get my master's degree in business administration, swear that I'm not going to go back to school, but within a year I'm back in law school. So end up graduating from law school in 2005. Take a month off work to study for the bar exam, pass the bar exam. So I'm a certified attorney in the state of Ohio as well.
Very valuable.
I'm a cop with a law degree, right? It was what was next, right? That's my mentality. What's the next thing? What's the next thing that I have to chase after? And really the only reason I did it was because I wanted to be able to teach legal classes in our academy. I was an instructor at our academy. So I shared that because basically from September of 1990, when I started college, to 2005, and really, let's be honest, I mean, beyond that, probably till 2016, all I did was work and school to the detriment of everything else. So I never got married, never had a significant relationship. I didn't even have a cat. Now, I know you all peg me for a crazy cat lady, and you probably think I have 9 cats hidden in my basement. That is not true.
It's better than 9 kids.
I know, no kids either. So work-wise, now we had to wait 4 years. Once we had 4 years on, we were eligible to start the promotion process. So as soon as I was eligible, I started the promotion process because I at least want to put myself in a position to be on the list when my dad leaves. So go through the assessment center, make the promotion list. Now, once we make the promotion list, we do what's called a geographical preference. So I can go into the computer and put in all the posts where I would be willing to go for a promotion. I'm basically telling the promotion board where I will go. Now, I lived around Central Ohio. I could have limited myself to Central Ohio. But knowing my mentality, there's another box on that geographical preference that is statewide preference. We call it checking the big box, which basically says you will go anywhere in the state to be promoted.
If you want promotion bad enough, you will do what you need to do to get promoted.
Okay, you've known me 30 minutes, plus or minus. What do you think I did?
You check the big box.
Big box, absolutely. Every single time. So I'm saying I will go anywhere in the state to get promoted. My dad retired in June of 2000. I get promoted in July to sergeant. I was an instructor at our academy. They kept me there. Great. I'm in law school. I'm going to law school in the evenings, day shift, weekends and holidays off. It's perfect for my school schedule. At that point, you only needed 1 year as a sergeant to be eligible to take the lieutenant's test. So I get a year, take the lieutenant's test, pass the lieutenant's test, make the assessment center, make the promotion list. I check the big box. And one day I'm sitting in my office at the academy, and the colonel at the time walks into my office and says, "Hey, Heidi, let's go for a run." Now, it's not unusual that the colonel and the senior staff would be at the academy to work out at lunchtime all the time, every day. But what was unusual was that he asked me to go for a run. So I know now this is probably not going to be a workout as much as it's going to be a career conversation. And sure enough, we get about a mile out, and he goes, "Oh, congratulations on making the promotion list. But I see you said you'd go anywhere in the state. Do you think that's realistic?" I said, "Well, sir, I said I would go anywhere in the state to be a sergeant, and you chose to keep me at the academy. Does that mean I have to be here, just limit myself to headquarters or the academy?" "Well, it's pretty difficult for people to go from an administrative position to an operations position." And I said, "Well, I don't need to stay at the academy. Transfer me out. I'll go back and I'll work the road." And shit, that's what he did. So back out I go, working midnight shift, going to school in the evenings, law school in the evenings, sleeping during the day, working overnight.
And studying.
And studying, yeah, doing all that. So in 2004, I ended up getting promoted to lieutenant, going to the extreme northeast corner of the state, or almost northeast corner of the state, where it starts snowing around Halloween. It doesn't stop until April. And I'm looking for the next promotion. Now, everything above lieutenant, it's either interview or it's at the will of the colonel or the senior staff. It could be an interview, could not. It just doesn't, who knows? But you know when the openings are coming up. You know when that next staff lieutenant's position is coming. You know who's retiring. You know who's getting promoted or whatever. So that's what I'm looking for. And I get transferred back down to, after 2 years, I get transferred back down to the post where I was a sergeant. So I knew everybody. I was friends with everybody there. The district staff, the staff lieutenants, were all friends. I'm one of the only female lieutenants in the state, but I get along with everybody, and I'm looking for that next promotion. And then 2008 happened. Now, in 2008...
Just to set the scene, before you get into 2008, to set the scene, it sounds like to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, you have put your your complete identity into being the Ohio State Trooper, like the Ohio State Trooper.
Everything.
And, you know, for every move you've made is to advance your career to be a better trooper. And you've denied your own personal life. Now, it's either pass or fail. There is no plan B. You put all your eggs in one proverbial basket. Mm-hmm. Would that be a correct assessment?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep, that's all I did. So 2008, about March, end of March, I found out that my midnight shift sergeant had been having an affair with one of his troopers. He ended the relationship. She got mad. She claimed that he ended the relationship because now he was in a relationship with the midnight shift dispatcher. And she can prove it. She's got an audio tape of the dispatcher performing a sex act on the sergeant in the dispatch area.
Do you have that tape?
Tom, if you need to hear that, I don't have that tape,
Oh,
and I don't
love
know
it.
what that sounds like. But
I love it. I was
Yeah,
gonna say, do you have that? We can play it on air.
Yeah. So, but allegedly, how she got this tape was she took the belt microphone from her in-car camera system, activated it, and hid it in the shredder box in the dispatch area. Well, that's a felony in Ohio. I don't know if it's a felony here. I'm assuming it is. Maybe back then in '08. She realizes that's a felony, so the audio tape never materialized. So sorry, Tom, I don't have that for you to use later. But now the story's out there. I mean, I can't just ignore this story. So
The bell has been rung.
That's exactly right. So I write everything up, send it up the chain of command, and now a big internal affairs investigation is started. And during the internal affairs investigation, they're basically investigating everybody. So they're looking at me, they're looking at my district staff, my sergeants, and they're checking our emails to see if we knew about this before I wrote it up. Like we were trying to fix it or handle it before sending it up the chain. And when they did that, they found emails that I sent that made it look like I was having an affair with my captain, so 2 ranks higher. Now, Kevin, Tom, Anthony, anybody, I am not going to sit here and say that had that opportunity presented itself, that I wouldn't have taken him up on it.
You're a human being?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I'm 33, 35 years old at the time, and I'm like,
You're in your prime.
okay, right, let's go. It just never got to that point. But I did. I sent emails that I shouldn't have sent. So on a Friday afternoon, I am driving down to Tennessee, Chattanooga, Tennessee, to do a bicycle ride with some friends of mine. We're in the parking lot of a Cracker Barrel. Nothing good ever happens in the parking lot of a Cracker Barrel.
Well, maybe if they change the logo.
Well, there you go. See, it's timely. This is current events.
Current events, yeah. We're talking
on
current
this
events, yeah.
On this podcast. So I'm standing in the parking lot, and I get a phone call from the operations major telling me that I'm to report to his office on Monday morning at 8 o'clock because now I'm the subject of an internal affairs investigation for conduct unbecoming. Wow. So pretty crappy weekend.
Yeah, I can imagine.
That was. But then on Monday morning, I'm told that for the duration of this investigation, I'm basically going to be sitting in a cubicle in headquarters with nothing to do. And there's probably nothing worse that you can do to my type AAA personality than to sit me in a cubicle with nothing to do, right? Because I'm sure you've been the subject of many of an internal affairs investigation,
I have.
right? And you're pretty much toxic during that time, right? Nobody talks to you. Nobody gives you any information about the investigation. I can count on 3 fingers the number of people who even reached out and asked how I was doing just from a mental health perspective.
No, they don't want to get sucked in.
I don't even give a shit about the investigation. Just ask, how are you doing? Now, thankfully, there was a captain in that office who was trying to give me stuff to do. He's like, trying to keep me busy. He recognized, and he was the only person I communicated with that I sought out counseling. I mean, the things that I had done. So fast forward, I get called in for another interview because they found 2 emails on my in-car camera system, and the header on the emails was Yo B. Yo B. One was from the midnight shift dispatcher. The other was from this trooper, ironically enough. So they call me in and they say, "Oh, Lieutenant Marshall, we found these emails in your computer. It says Yo B. What does the B stand for?" Like, I don't know. But like, well, what do you think it stands for? I don't know. Bitch. And they're like, "Oh, you let your people call you a bitch?" I said, "Well, they didn't call me a bitch. It just says Yo B, and I'm not one that you don't have to call me ma'am or good morning, lieutenant, or whatever every 5 minutes. I mean, I get along with these people on and off duty. It's not, I don't get worked up about rank and everything else." So fast forward, August 8th, 2008. It's a Friday afternoon, 4:30 in the afternoon. I get called into the major's office. There's another major sitting in the office. That's what you call a clue. And I'm read a letter telling me that I'm being terminated from the Highway Patrol for conduct unbecoming and allowing my subordinates to treat me in a derogatory manner from the YOB, which
Wow.
I didn't even know was a thing.
They're stretching.
I didn't even know it was a thing, right? Give us your badge, give us your gun. Your car's out in the parking lot, leave it there because another lieutenant's going to take you home. And that's what happened. Now, by this time, my parents were retired full-time, living out in Arizona. Okay, so they're not even around. I have a sister. She lived about 20 minutes away from me. She is a kindergarten school teacher. She's got her own. I mean, she had 3 kids with a 4th on the way. Like, she was due the end of August. We get along really well, but she's not necessarily somebody, especially back then, that I would call if I needed anything.
But you're going through an area now where, and that's why we set it up the way we set it up. It's your life is being
Everything.
a trooper. It's everything to you
And here I sit
in the desert.
with, like, feeling like my identity has just been stripped from me, right? So my dad's trying to call, and I'm not answering the phone. Another friend of mine was trying to call. I'm not answering the phone. Those 2 people know that if I'm not answering them, that something's probably not right, so they call each other. And then my dad calls my sister, says, hey, I don't know what's going on. Just go over and check on Heidi. Probably another 45 minutes, or if I was an alcoholic, which I'll talk about here in a second, I wouldn't be here because I was sitting in my garage with a bottle of wine and a bottle of sleeping pills. And I was going to kill myself because in that messed up moment, like in my brain, in that moment, I'm thinking, how am I going to call my retired colonel father and tell him that I just screwed up so badly that I just got fired?
Because everything in your life, your peripheral vision has now focused here.
Right.
You're not seeing the good things on the side, your friends, your family, the people who really care about you. All you're seeing right now is this darkness that's staring you right in the face, and you can't escape from it. You can't turn your head on. It is just there, and that is your focus.
Right.
I get it.
Right.
Trust me, I get it.
So, and how, I mean, all the shame and the embarrassment and, all the shenanigans that are going to come as a result of this, in my head, it'd be easier for them if I just wasn't here. But then my sister comes walking up the driveway with my nieces and nephew and her baby bump. And it flipped a switch in my head, so that vision kind of opened up. Because now it's like, well, as opposed to the job, it's like, well, what would my nieces and nephew think if Aunt Heidi wasn't here anymore?
Or worse yet, what if they came walking up the driveway a couple minutes too late and you had already done the unthinkable?
Right.
Now you have them seeing this horrible vision. You're creating generational trauma. You're creating all the bad stuff that goes along with taking your life. So, yeah, you want to talk about providence and divine intervention. There's a piece of it in there.
Yeah, because now, I mean, and those were the closest things to kids that I had. I mean, I didn't have my own kids, right? So obviously I didn't go through with it, right? But
Spoiler alert.
yeah, shocking. I am here to screw with Tom today because
I love this.
I did not do that.
I'm going to tell you what.
right?
Heidi's coming back. She's going to be my co-host, and we're going to sit and interview Tom. I love it.
I know, exactly. So, but what I also didn't do is I didn't tell my sister what I was thinking about doing, right? That day when she came over. My mom and dad came home for a couple weeks after that. I didn't tell them what I was thinking about doing. It took me 8.5 years.
My wife had no idea until I went on Soft White Underbelly and she watched it. She goes, I had no idea.
Yeah. So when my dad found out was when I basically gave them the paper that I wrote when I went to the National Academy that detailed everything. That's when they found out. After I shared it at the in-service, he says, hey, can I come in and listen to you teach in-service? Because you're telling everybody else your story. I'd like to hear it too. It's like, holy shit, that's a fine kick in the
Did he
teeth,
do it?
right? He did do it. He
So
did do it.
my wife has
He
sat
absolutely
in
did.
on some of my talks, and I swore up and down I will never have you in there because because I'm looking every once in a while. You glance over, making sure she's all right, and I'm seeing the bottom lip quivering, and I break down.
I couldn't look at him. Are you kidding me?
And I said,
couldn't do
no,
that.
you can't. You heard it once. You can't do that no more.
Yeah. So fast forward 3 days, I get a call from HR. Now, for us, lieutenants and above do not have union protection. So For me to fight the discipline, I would have had to stay fired, hire an attorney, and sue through the state, right? Well, one, I didn't want to stay fired. I didn't want to hire an attorney. I didn't, I wanted to work. But more importantly, I was wrong. I did. I sent emails that I shouldn't have sent. So I get a call, hey, we're going to give you your job back. Right? It's Monday.
Very odd.
But you're going to be on a 2-year last chance agreement. So any same or similar offense in 2 years, right? You can be fired with no recourse. At a post within 35 miles of your house, demoted from lieutenant to trooper. And I took it because I just wanted to move forward. Now, my first day back at the post. Now, I could have gone in there one of two ways, right? I was pissed, but I wasn't going to let anybody know that I was pissed. So the first thing I did when I got into the post was put in to start the promotion process again.
That might be the biggest FU I've ever heard in my life.
Because I knew it. I had rewritten the promotion process, so I kind of knew. I was an assessor in our assessment center. I knew what the process was. So if you think it's nerve-wracking going through a promotion process the first time around, imagine going through the second time around, when now it's, hey, what if I screw this up? And now they're basically telling me, yeah, see, we told you so. Because now I'm out to prove them wrong. You just said that I cannot be a leader of my people, right? So now I'm out to prove you wrong. So I go through the promotion process, go through the assessment center, make the promotion list, geographical preference, what I do.
Big box.
Check the big box, right? 3 days after my last chance agreement expired, I got promoted to sergeant.
The road back is such an appropriate name for this episode.
So I go to my new assignment up in Northwest Ohio. Because I said I'd go anywhere, so Northwest Ohio it is.
Where it snows after Halloween.
Oh, no, it doesn't snow up there. It's just cold because there's cornfields and everything else. So, right, there's nothing to block it. So I go up there on my first day. The district captain comes down. Heidi, we're happy you're here. Do you have any questions? Yes, sir. I have one question. Now, see, by this time, you had to be a sergeant for 2 years to be eligible to test for lieutenant. This was August. They typically start the lieutenant's testing in September. I already had 2 years as a sergeant from the first time around, right?
Second FU.
Now, you were with Atlantic City PD, right?
No, I was with Roseland PD.
Okay,
up
Roseland.
near here, yeah.
All right. So are there any policies in Roseland PD that are named after you?
Donaldson doctrines. Can I share one with you?
Absolutely. Because I'm going to share mine with you.
You may enjoy this one because listen, I like your style. Okay, your style is you and I would have gotten along so well. My administrator, because I won't dignify him by calling him by his rank. My administrator got off on. I think he had his name legally changed to his rank, but because his kids used to call him it. So he put out this memo, you're not to call any superior officers by their first name in uniform, either in headquarters or out on the street. On the street, I understand. That's a sign of respect. Mm-hmm. And I always did that. But, okay, sign off on it, the sign things. Mm-hmm. Next day, one of the sergeants was a very good friend of mine. He was my mentor. I'm like, hey, Steve, how you doing? And I did it right in front of this administrator. I said, hey, Steve, how you doing? It's fine, Kevin, how you doing? And sure enough, I see him get red in the face. Donaldson, get in here. I go in there and he pulls a paper. You signed that, right? And I'm like, what is that? Like, yeah, I signed that. And I said, what's the problem? Well, you signed this and you're going to be brought up on charges. I go, for what? And he goes, because you just called Sergeant Sarjay Steve by his first name and you just signed this. And I said, yeah, I did. I still don't understand what the problem is. Mm-hmm. He goes, well, you're going to be brought up on charges. I said, for what? He goes, for disobeying this direct order. I said, well, I didn't disobey the direct order. Pull out of my pocket, table of organization. You see this table of organization here? It says lieutenants, captains, deputy chief, and chief are superior officers. Sergeants are supervisors. Mm-hmm. I didn't.
You're good.
I followed that. Mm-hmm. Well, the next day, the Donaldson Doctrine came out.
And they revised policy.
But my caveat was that they had to call me officer
Oh, yeah.
They had to call me officer because it has to go
Yeah,
both ways.
both ways.
So that's the Donaldson
Yeah.
doctrine. So I'm interested to hear yours.
That's fantastic. I think we probably had the same administrator, the same person. But yeah, so I already had 2 years as a sergeant from the first time around. So I knew there was nothing in policy that was going to prevent me from taking the lieutenant's test. So they had to let me take the lieutenant's test. But then they changed policy after that. So if you got demoted because of some sort of discipline, your time started over, right? So all the promotion, demotion policies are named after me, right? So that's the Marshall Plan or whatever. Right? So take the lieutenant's test, make the promotion list, say I'll go anywhere in the state, and end up going, getting promoted a year later and going back down to our academy, where now I'm, putting together leadership classes and doing everything. And then I get transferred into labor relations, which is like the circle of life in my career, and dealing with that particular administrator, which was challenging. But I was then told and everything above, lieutenant and above is at the will of the colonel. And I basically told the colonel, I'll go anywhere in the state to be a captain, to get promoted to captain. So in 2000, I was doing labor relations in 2016, end of 2015, beginning of 2016. I was told that I was going to be switching over from labor relations and going into our wellness unit, overseeing our wellness unit. So putting programs in place. I'm sure you've heard post-critical incident seminars, right? South Carolina Law Enforcement Assistance Program. They were phenomenal in helping us put together what's called Ohio Assist. So
Toronto's got a good one.
Yeah.
Toronto's got a fantastic one.
Yeah,
It's a whole syllabus in there.
So I was overseeing that and putting that together and running post-critical incident seminars. And I'm told I'm going to be going to the National Academy in October of 2016. So I'm like, well, fantastic, right? I'm going to go to the National Academy and I'm going to take all these classes that are related to wellness, right? Because that's what I'm going to be doing. So I'm going to take stress management and I'm going to take emotional intelligence, which I found out I didn't have a lot of that shit. I had a lot of emotions and zero intelligence about it, right? And everybody has to take a physical fitness class, so that wasn't a big deal. Oh, but I'm going to take this class called Leading at-Risk Employees. And I get there on the first day. And on the first day, I'm sitting in class, and I'm sitting and I'm looking around, and I'm like, damn, I would love to teach here. Right? I'm like, this is the major leagues.
Sure
right?
it is.
I'm used to teaching
You
in our
got called up.
academy. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to teach here if I had the opportunity. So that was day one of the National Academy as a student. But I'm sitting in the Leading At-Risk Employees class, and one of the assignments is to write a paper about an at-risk employee and what happened and how was it handled and how would you do things differently given what you learned in the class. And I thought, well, what better at-risk employee to write about than myself? And that assignment stays to this day. I still have that assignment to this day. Now, people have the option. They can write about a coworker. They can write about a family member. But probably the most at-risk employee you know is you. But you haven't talked about it, right? So it was a safe space for me to be able to share that story for the first time. And I submitted it to the instructor, and he says, oh, this is a great story. Who have you shared this with? I'm like, are you crazy? I'm not going to share this with anybody. I don't want people to think I'm weak. I don't want them to take my gun. I don't want them to send me for a fitness for duty. Screw that. Being a cop aside, but then being a woman, oh, I'm just overreacting. I can't handle my job. So he goes, well, that's all fine and good, but you don't know how many people you might be able to help just by sharing that story, right? Because everybody has, I share my story, and your story is 10 times worse than my story, but it's my story, and that's your story.
But then,
right?
so
It doesn't make it any different.
I got a
any
huge
less.
problem with that because, people fight for trauma trophies, right?
Right, yeah. Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter because what went on with you to yourself was the worst thing possible.
Yeah.
And it does, and that is awful. What went on with me was the worst thing possible. But guess what? There's always somebody higher.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't matter because it's the effect that it has on you.
Yeah. But to know that we're not alone.
Correct.
Right? We're not alone. So I shared that story.
We're not by yourself.
That's exactly right. So I shared that story for the first time, like I said earlier, towards the end of the National Academy. Right? So I go back And again, I swore I wasn't going to share that with anybody. We had the state of Ohio mandated the trauma-informed policing training, and it was really heavy on interacting with suspects and victims and witnesses and the general public who's struggling with wellness or mental health issues. Very little about officers who are struggling with mental health issues. So I wanted to incorporate some of the things that I got from the National Academy. And I was the last hour standing between them and their ability to go home. And on that first day was when I blurted out that I was sitting in my garage with a bottle of wine, a bottle of sleeping pills. I was going to kill myself. And it was like crickets in the room. And I'm like, shit.
Everybody leans in?
Everybody's like, huh? And I'm like, all right, be careful, go home, claim your overtime, right? Get the hell out of my building. But that's when I found out. It's like, shit, how many people reached out and said that they had been there too. Now, there were a couple. I had that administrator who reached out to me. There were a couple people who told me they were uncomfortable by what you said during that class. You know what? Good. Good.
You know what's uncomfortable to me?
Absolutely why we need to keep talking about this stuff.
You know what's uncomfortable to me? When an officer takes their life. Now, the national, according to bluehelp.org, it ranges from like 150 to 225, somewhere in there. What they're not documenting is the retired guys, my partner. They're not documenting the retired guys. So that number
is low.
It's somewhere around 1,000 a year that are taking their lives.
Yeah. And try to tell me that you're going to sit there. Well, first of all, if these two people out of the 1,600 who heard it that year, two people are telling you that, yeah, that's okay. If they feel comfortable enough that they're telling you that, yeah, I don't trust them anyway, right? I'll worry about the other, 1,600 or 1,598.
You're a cop. You see the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
Come on.
Give me a break. So everybody got that. Now, again, I said, I'll go anywhere in the state to be a captain. I get passed over for promotion about 6 or 7 times. I'm asked to transfer from our wellness unit to go back to our academy. Second in charge at the academy. Okay, great. I love being at the academy. I was there 2 times before. Great. I'm there doing my thing at the academy. The commandant of the academy decides he's going to retire. I'm like, great, this is my shot. Maybe this is why I've been passed over. So now I have the opportunity to get promoted to captain and stay at the academy. Get a call. You're not getting promoted to captain at the academy. Okay. That was when I made the decision that, you know what, if something comes along that's interesting, I'm going to entertain it. I'm not actively looking for a job because our retirement is, was 48 years of age with 25 years of service. I could go early. I'd have to defer my retirement. I'm not actively looking, but if something comes along, then I'm going to entertain it. So I'd had the opportunity to go back to the National Academy to share my story with a couple different classes. And in May of 2018, I was sharing my story, and I get done, and one of the instructors says, hey, there's a contractor position open teaching at the National Academy. Would you be interested?
Which is what you said when you went there.
Exactly. Which, yeah, I said that 2 years ago. Like, I would love to go there and teach. And I said, well, yeah, I'm interested. So I went and talked to a supervisor. He said, well, do you have a resume? I pulled a thumb drive out of my pocket. I said, do you have an email address? I will send this to you right now. I go back home, and it was right around Police Week of 2018. And I tell my major. I didn't tell anybody else. I told him, hey, there's a chance that I could be getting an offer, a job offer. And just like this, tone of voice, look on his face, everything. He's like, doing what? I said, teaching at the National Academy. Well, you wouldn't take it, would you? Oh, yes. Yes, I would. So I ended up retiring from the Highway Patrol on June 25th of 2018. Now, I went 2 years early. I was 46 years old with 23 years of service. So I had to defer my retirement. I had to wait until I was 52 to start collecting my pension check. So everybody was, oh, you need to stay. You screwed up. You shouldn't leave. The grass isn't greener. You know what? I can go. There is nobody at the National Academy who knows my dad. I can mess up or do good on my own without his help, right? And I'm proud of him. I'm great. I was, being that legacy, it was fantastic. But I can go sink or swim on my own. right? I can screw up on my own. I don't need anybody else's help to do that. I say something stupid every single day, right? So, it's time to take a chance on me. So I retired on June 25th. I started at the National Academy on July 1st, right?
And you had to move to Virginia.
I sold my house. I packed up my stuff. I spent a weekend out there, bought a condo in Alexandria. My dad had everything loaded up in a truck, so he drove it over after I closed on my condo. And I started teaching. Well, sat through a session and then started teaching in the October session of that year, right? Now, fast forward July of 2019, okay? Session 2. So I was session 266. It's all about numbers, right? Session 266. My first session was session 273. My first session teaching was 274. Session 277 starts July of 2019. And in my class, there's like 3 rows up. There's a old buzz cut, crusty looking captain from the Pentagon Police Department, retired gunnery sergeant, 20 year in the Marine Corps. He's got a laptop computer, a Diet Mountain Dew, and a bag of Cheetos. And he says, I run on Diet Mountain Dew, Cheetos, and hate. And I'm like, hey. Turns out that's my love language. But so fast forward, they graduated. He raised his hand on the first day, and he says, I'm going to be your problem student. And we were talking about suicide. We were talking about suicide statistics. And he said, who's to say that these numbers wouldn't be higher if we weren't talking about suicide as much as we are now? And that's an absolutely valid point, because we're talking about this topic a heck of a lot more now than we ever heard it talked about as we were coming up through our respective organizations, right? But if there's one number in Blue Help or one number in the ODMP, right, a line of duty death, then we still got plenty of work to do, right? As long as we have one, right? But I knew that he wasn't going to be my problem student because he had an officer who had cancer and ended up taking his life because his cancer was terminal. He goes, now that didn't have anything to do with the job. It was all because of the illness. But he started getting emotional. So he's like, I apologize if I was out of line. I'm like, you're not going to be my problem student. But it turns out he's still my problem student. Because they graduated on September 13th of 2019. He asked me to a graduation party in Alexandria.
Isn't that student teacher?
No, they graduated. Once they cross the stage, they're fair game. They're all right.
I don't know. It just sounds really inappropriate.
No, I mean, yeah, you could sound all you want, but once they cross the stage, it's like, hey, how you doing, right? Well, do you know what happens when, well, Tom would know this. What happens when you feed a stray cat?
They keep coming around.
They keep coming back. So he calls me his stray cat because he fed me on September 13th. And we've been together ever since. So that's the Ramsay part of the story. We got married March 20th of 2021. We've got 2 Doxy Poo puppies land in Ohio that will eventually build a house and retire on. And life is 150 times better than I ever thought it could have been when I was sitting in my damn garage.
You know what's really cool about your story? And what I really love is you put your whole life into this, into being a trooper. You put your whole life into police work, and that's who you were. That was your identity. And because of things inside pushing you out, you actually listened, pushing you out, and it pushed you in a direction where you were supposed to be. And look at all those good things that happened. You went to the major leagues, okay, which is the FBI National Academy. You met this guy who apparently has a very odd love language, the same way as you. Right. You met this guy, and now all of a sudden you started building a life that you'd been missing for 21 years, right?
Yeah, and as much as I don't recommend anybody taking the trajectory that I took in my career, I think everything happens for a reason. Right? I mean, I was getting promoted up pretty quickly. And my dad told me I was going to stall out somewhere. You know, you're going to stall out somewhere. You're not going to keep getting promoted. Now, he would have never told me, hey, why don't you go try getting demoted and go back to square one, right? That wasn't going to happen. But it had to happen, right? It gave me the ability, one, don't forget where you came from because you never know when you might be going back. But two, I got the opportunity to see just how poorly as an organization we were treating our people, right? The troopers, the boots on the ground, the dispatchers, the sergeants, even the lieutenants, right? Even though they're in a command position, but they're out there doing the job every day, and we're not taking care of them nearly as well as we should. So that put that in, I got to see that perspective going back to the beginning, if you will.
But now you're sitting in a position where you're teaching these future leaders, and you're actually going to be mentoring them properly versus, hey, you see somebody with a problem, keep an eye on them, they could be a liability, versus you see somebody with a problem, you better say something.
Right.
You better go talk to them, find out if they're all right. You know, one of the things that encapsulates law enforcement so well, throughout your career, I'm sure you saw many officers who got a DUI.
Yep.
Right?
Oh, absolutely.
And what does everybody say inside the police department when somebody gets a DUI?
Oh, we saw that coming.
What an idiot.
Yeah.
He ruined his career. Nobody ever stops and asks, why are you drinking so much? What's going on? There's signs. There's always signs. We're just so blind to it because, you know, we're so locked in. But guess what? We have our faults too. And when they come out, you want somebody talking about you like that? No. You know, when I went out, I'm sure it happened when you got fired, when you got terminated. What an idiot, ruined their career, you know, people talking all sorts of smack.
Oh, yeah.
And then what happens inevitably, they'll get jammed up on something and they'll have a whole new perspective on stuff. So treat people with a little grace and a little kindness until you know the whole story.
Well, I had people who reached out after I shared, my story. One, officer had gotten demoted a couple times once because of politics, and that's what could happen. But he heard after in service, he said, "Hey, come over to my office. I want to." And this isn't a guy that I really was friends with or that I would talk to just to go shoot the breeze or anything. So I'm thinking, oh, great. You know, what's he going to say? He goes, you know what? He goes, I've seen all the dead bodies out on the street. He goes, I've made death notifications. He goes, nothing bothered me as much as going through the internal affairs process and going through that demotion process. He goes, that affected me worse than all the dead bodies and incidents that I see out on the road. And that's absolutely right.
But I'm sure you made a huge impact in your law enforcement career.
I like to hope. I hope so.
I'm sure you did.
I hope so.
If you didn't, God, what a wasted career. But I'm sure you did.
Well,
but you understand that what you're doing now is impacting, like, you were working towards what you're doing now because what you're doing now is impacting people on a level that you couldn't have possibly imagined that day you put in your application to be a trooper.
Yeah. It's to have the major that I told you, he goes, well, you have a impact on a lot of people around the state. I'm like, well, do you know what the National Academy is? Yeah, the state of Ohio is great, but the National Academy is international. It's national. Like, it's in the name. Yeah. Right? So why just limit myself to the state when I could, maybe affect people around the country, around the world?
On a scale.
Exactly. And the best thing about that is when somebody feels comfortable enough to have that space, to create that space for a bunch of law enforcement executives who don't get that space when they're at home, right? They don't have those people that they can trust or that they can maybe talk to. Now, hopefully they find them once they graduate, but that's the first step to really being able to take care of themselves, not only so they could go back and lead their people, but so that they can be around for their families and collect that pension check for as long as they possibly can.
Screw the pension system as long as you can.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what it's all about. Collect those little checks for as long as possible.
So, Heidi, we are coming to the end of this thing here, and I'm so grateful for people like you who are in a position now to change the paradigm and erase the stigma and all those good things that are happening. Do you want to throw out any plugs? Where can my audience find you?
Well, I'm on social media, Heidi Marshall Ramsey, Facebook, Instagram, all that. Yeah.
Okay, and we'll put links to all that stuff in our show notes so people can reach out to you if they need to.
Yeah, and really, you can throw out my email address if anybody has any questions about resources or, anything, because there's so much there are so many good programs that are, coming out online, out there for law enforcement, even command level. I mean, we talk about the post-critical incident seminars, and they're doing command level specific post-critical incident seminars. So, I mean, nobody has to go through this alone, right? From the bottom up to the top. A lot of good, some things that we're doing even with the National Academy, a group called Frontline Freedom, a nonprofit out of Ohio that was started by a couple troopers. They do adventure therapy. So they go out and do hikes in the woods. So,
and that frees you more than people realize.
Oh, my gosh. So we actually plug for NA Graduate Session 289, Mike Slocum, lieutenant with the Painesville Police Department up in northern Ohio, was in my class, did the Virginia Triple Crown on the Appalachian Trail. So it's a weekend, McAfee Knob, Tinker's Cliffs on Saturday, and then Dragon's Tooth on Sunday. So total of about 21, 22 miles of hiking on the Appalachian Trail. They did it for session 289, and we've done it ever since. And we're getting ready to kick off session 296 here in a few weeks. So to get those officers out there doing something that is hard, I mean, it's a challenge, as the Appalachian Trail isn't easy. But they're able to decompress and be out there doing something hard with their friends. Yeah,
it focuses your mind on something difficult, so it gets you out of your own head.
And it closes all those open internet browsers in your head, right? It closes all the assignments and the stuff back home and the emails and everything else, and it's just you, your friends, nature, and tackling that trail. So, excellent group. Check out Frontline Freedom.
So I certainly appreciate you, Heidi, and I appreciate you traveling all this way. We finish our show the same way every time. You've gone through this long career, and in that career, there is a lot of suffering. You had to deal with the ego bruising of getting terminated, of getting demoted, and then having to work yourself up through the road back, and there was some suffering involved. I'm a big believer that suffering is the best teacher in the world. No matter, I know you're a good teacher, but suffering might be a little bit better. And if you hadn't learned something from all those bad beats and all that suffering, it's a wasted opportunity. So what did your suffering teach you about this long road back?
Well, even though, and this is going to sound odd, because that, up until June 12th of 2025, me getting fired and going through that was the worst thing that had happened, right? So I suffered through that. But on June 12th, I lost my mom. Right? So now I keep doing this for her. Because she was the one who, when I lost focus and I wasn't working out, I wasn't doing the things that I needed to do to keep on track, right? She got me a, remember the Nintendo Wii?
Yeah.
The little Wii?
Yeah.
And I thought she got it for the grandkids. And she said, no, it was like, no, she goes, I got it. I thought maybe you'd want to start working out again. I mean, my mom, who's like 5'6", stubborn-ass German woman, basically, in her own way, telling me to get off my ass and start living life and doing what you need to do to get your head back in the game. So, shout out to my mom, because the dementia took over her brain, and we lost her on the 12th. But she's always up there kicking my ass, because that's what she did then. And she'll continue to do it. So always keep moving forward. That's what it's all about.
Sometimes we need a kick in the ass or a pat on the back, and we never know which one we need, but we get what we need. Heidi, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you coming in here, and what a great story.
Love what you guys are doing.
So that's going to do it for this episode of The Suffering Podcast, The Suffering of the Road Back with Heidi Ramsey. And let's think about all the stuff that we learned. Optics aren't always the truth. Always tell yourself what's next. It's an honor to have an order named after you. Apparently, Diet Mountain Dew, Cheetos, and hate are Heidi's love language, along with her husband. But most importantly, vulnerability brings you closer to everyone. And that's going to do it for this episode. Don't forget to go to popple.com, put in the code TSP20 for a 20% discount on your digital business card. Follow us on all social media. That's Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, OnlyFans. Follow me at Real Kevin Donaldson, and of course, follow the Suffering Podcast. We'll see you on the next episode.